Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a real paradox at the heart of India's economy. See, on the surface, you've got this story of incredible, nonstop momentum. But if you dig just a little deeper, you find a recovery that's, well, it's leaving a lot of people behind.
Okay, check out this number. In the first quarter of 2025, India's economy grew by a jaw-dropping 7.4%. To give you some perspective, that's a number that most major economies right now can only dream of. It signals a powerful engine just running at full throttle.
So, you see a headline number like that and you think, wow, the economy is thriving, prosperity must be everywhere. But what if that's only half the story? What if, just beneath that shiny surface, a totally different picture is taking shape? Let's get into it.
All right, so first up, let's look at the powerful forces that are actually driving this incredible growth. Because this isn't just some random spike. It's the result of an economy that is showing some remarkable resilience, especially when the rest of the world is facing some pretty serious headwinds.
So, according to research from Deloitte, this growth is no accident. It's really being powered by three key engines. You've got a resilient consumer base that just keeps spending, a growing appetite for investment in the country's future, and, of course, a young, dynamic workforce that's getting really good at new skills like AI. All these things together, they create a super stable foundation.
What this really means is that even when the global economy kind of stumbles, India has this powerful internal cushion to fall back on. Strong demand from its own people, combined with a huge government push on things like infrastructure spending, well, that keeps its own economic engine just humming right along.
Okay, so here's where the story starts to get a lot more complicated. Because despite that booming headline number, a key part of the economy, and I mean the biggest part, in fact, is sending out a very different and much, much weaker signal. This really shows you the engine room of the whole Indian economy. Private consumption, which is basically just household spending on everything from groceries to cars to services, makes up about 60% of the entire GDP. It is the single largest driver of growth, period. And yet, while the overall economy was just roaring ahead at that 7.4% clip, the growth in that all-important household spending, it lagged way behind, at only around 6%. And this right here reveals a major disconnect between the big picture and what's actually happening in people's wallets. So, how can the economy be growing so fast if its biggest piece is slowing down? This split, this divergence between the strong GDP numbers and the weaker household spending, that's the central paradox we really need to get our heads around. This whole phenomenon actually has a name. And it's a really powerful way to visualize the two different stories that are playing out in India's economy. It's called a K-shaped recovery. Right, a K-shaped recovery, I want you to literally imagine the letter K. After a downturn, the economy splits. One part, the top arm of the K, trends sharply upwards. But the other part, the bottom arm, just stagnates or even starts to trend downwards. They're both recovering, but in completely opposite directions. And this here breaks down exactly who is on each of those paths. That top arm, that represents the affluent city dwellers and professionals in the formal sector. They're the ones buying new cars, driving growth in tech. But that bottom arm, well, that tells a very different story. That's your lower income and rural households who are getting squeezed by wages that aren't going up and rising costs for just the basics. And this is the critical takeaway. The bottom line is, growth that looks this uneven, while it's super impressive on paper, is actually way less stable. An economy that's really just relying on the spending of the wealthy is a lot more vulnerable to shocks because it's missing that powerful ripple effect that you get from widespread consumer spending. So, this brings us to the core challenge for the people in charge, for the policymakers. The question isn't just how to keep the economy growing fast, it's how do you make sure that this high-speed growth becomes more inclusive and more sustainable for everybody, not just for the people on that upper arm of the K. So what's the fix? Well, experts are suggesting a multi-step approach that's really focused on one key goal, strengthening that lagging lower arm of the K. This means things like providing targeted support to those who need it most, investing in education and skills to boost what people can earn, and creating policies that actually help small businesses create more jobs. The whole idea is to build a broader, more resilient foundation from the bottom up. And all of this brings us to the final, really crucial question. It's not just about chasing a high GDP number. The real test is whether India can actually turn its incredible high-speed growth into shared prosperity.
Because at the end of the day, a truly powerful economy isn't just a fast one, it's one that lifts everyone up together.